Admiral Mo's words echoed through the massive chamber of the Galactic Senate, where representatives from countless species had gathered. "I've never witnessed a human fleet engage in combat," she declared. "They retreat behind their boundaries, acting as cowards, hiding in fear." Manga, the Carson representative, nodded in agreement as his uniform glimmered under the chamber's lights, commanding the attention of all present. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, finally landing on Manga. "They have refused our calls to join the fight against the Bambar Confederate for too long," Mora continued, her voice cold and resolute. "They sit on the edge of the galaxy, safe in their isolation, while the rest of us bleed. This cannot continue. We must issue an ultimatum: join us or face the consequences." A murmur ran through the Senate. The humans had always been an enigma, isolated in their worlds with seemingly primitive technology, yet they had managed to fend off invasions time and again, retreating to their fortified systems, never seeking expansion, never engaging in the broader galactic conflicts. Manga, his insectoid mandibles clicking as he spoke, added, "They are weak, Admiral. Their reluctance to fight only proves this. They fear the Bambar, as they should. We must make them understand that neutrality is no longer an option." Mora nodded, her decision made. "Then it's settled. We issue the ultimatum: they either join our war effort or they will be treated as enemies of the Galactic Alliance." The chamber fell silent as the vote was cast. Moments later, the result flashed across the display, unanimous in favor. The message would be sent to Terra, the human home world, with a clear demand: fight alongside the Alliance or face destruction. Mora turned to her second-in-command, a stern-faced officer named Golan. "Prepare the fleets. If the Terrans refuse, we need to be ready to strike immediately." Golan saluted and exited the chamber, leaving Mora to contemplate the implications of their decision. She had never considered the humans a serious threat. They were an unknown factor, yes, but their reluctance to engage in galactic warfare had always been seen as a sign of weakness. Yet there was a nagging doubt in the back of her mind, a sense that perhaps, just perhaps, they had underestimated the Terrans. But the die was cast. The ultimatum would reach Terra within hours, and the humans would have no choice but to reveal their true nature. Mora pushed aside her doubts. They were merely a primitive species clinging to the edges of the galaxy. They would fall in line, or they would be crushed like all who opposed the might of the Galactic Alliance. As the chamber emptied, Mora remained behind, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. Terra was a small dot on the periphery, insignificant compared to the vast empire surrounding it. "Not for long," she muttered to herself, "not for long." The response came sooner than expected. Within hours of the ultimatum being transmitted, a message from Terra arrived. Mora stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays and senior officers. The tension in the room was palpable. Despite their dismissive attitude, the rapidity of the reply had caught them off guard. "Patch it through," Mora ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing the face of a human admiral, James. His expression was calm, almost disconcertingly so. There was no trace of fear or desperation in his eyes, only a cold, calculating stare that unnerved everyone in the room. "Admiral Mora, I am Admiral James of the Terran Defense Force," he began, his voice steady. "We have received your ultimatum. After careful consideration, we have decided to accept your terms. Terra will join the Galactic Alliance in the war against the Bambar Confederate." Mora's eyes narrowed. This was not the response she had anticipated. Humans were supposed to resist, to protest, to plead for more time. Instead, they had capitulated with an almost eerie swiftness. James continued, "We offer to lead the initial assault on the Bambar stronghold. Our fleet is prepared to deploy immediately." Gasps rippled through the room. Mora remained silent, her mind racing. This was not how things were supposed to unfold. The humans were supposed to cower, not volunteer to take the lead in battle. Something was off, and it sent a shiver down her spine. "You wish to lead the assault," she managed to say, keeping her voice steady. "Indeed," James replied. "The Terran fleet has been prepared for this moment. We have assessed the Bambar threat and believe that a decisive strike will disrupt their war effort. We are ready to launch within the hour." Mora exchanged glances with her officers. The confidence in James's tone was unsettling. The humans had always been viewed as isolationists, reluctant to engage in galactic affairs, but this was the move of someone who had been waiting, planning. "What do you require from us?" Mora asked, trying to regain control of the situation. "Merely your blessing," Admiral James said with a faint smile. "The Terran fleet will engage the Bambar, and we will crush them. You'll see what we're capable of." Mora hesitated. This was moving too fast, too smoothly. Yet, refusing their offer would look like a sign of weakness. She could not afford to appear indecisive. "Very well," she said finally. "The Galactic Alliance accepts your offer. The Terran fleet will lead the assault." "Excellent," James replied. "Prepare your forces to support us. The battle will begin shortly." The screen went dark, leaving the room in stunned silence. Mora turned to Golan, who had been watching the exchange with a furrowed brow. "Prepare our fleets to follow the Terrans," Mora ordered, "but keep them at a safe distance. I want to see what these humans are really made of." Golan nodded, his face grim. "You think they're hiding something?" "I don't know," Mora admitted, her voice low. "But we're about to find out." The battle was over before it had even begun. The Terran fleet moved with deadly efficiency, tearing through the Bambar defenses as if they were nothing more than paper. Mora watched in stunned silence from the command deck of her flagship, the display showing the destruction unfolding in real time. The human ships, sleek and unassuming, unleashed a fury that left no doubt in anyone's mind. The Terrans had been underestimated. Admiral James's voice crackled over the comms, calm as ever. "The Bambar fleet has been neutralized. All primary objectives achieved. No significant losses on our side." Mora clenched her fists, the reality of what had just transpired sinking in. The humans had not only led the assault, they had dominated it. The Bambar Confederate, a force that had terrorized the galaxy for decades, had been brought to its knees in mere hours by a species the Galactic Senate had deemed weak. "Admiral James," Mora began, her voice strained, "we are grateful for your swift action." "Gratitude is not necessary," Admiral James replied coolly. "However, there is something we need to discuss." Mora's eyes narrowed. There it was, the catch. "What is it?" James's face appeared on the screen again, his expression devoid of the calm professionalism he had displayed earlier. There was a steely edge to his gaze now, something dangerous lurking beneath the surface. "The Terran fleet did not join this war merely to support the Galactic Alliance," he said, his tone flat. "We did it to demonstrate our capabilities, and now that we expect certain adjustments to the current power dynamics." Mora's blood ran cold. "Adjustments?" "Yes," James continued. "The Galactic Alliance has grown complacent, stagnant. Terra will no longer sit idly by on the fringes of the galaxy. From this point forward, we expect to be recognized as a leading power in all military and strategic matters." Manga, who had been silent throughout the battle, finally spoke, his voice a low hiss. "You dare make demands of the Senate?" James's expression didn't waver. "This isn't a demand, it's a fact. You've seen what we can do. We fought your war for you, and now you'll acknowledge our place in the galaxy. Refuse, and you'll find yourselves with a new enemy, one that you cannot afford to underestimate." Mora stared at the screen, her mind racing. The humans had played them perfectly, baiting them into revealing their strength, then turning the tables. She had no choice but to accept their terms, at least for now. "Very well," she said finally, forcing the words out. "The Galactic Alliance recognizes Terra as a leading military power." "Wise decision," Admiral James replied, the dangerous edge in his voice still present. "We look forward to a prosperous future together." The screen went dark again, leaving Mora and the others to process what had just happened. The humans had gone from a perceived weakness to a dominant force in a matter of hours. Mora realized, with a sinking feeling, that they had awakened a giant, one that would not be easily controlled. Manga turned to her, his eyes filled with unease. "What have we done?" Mora didn't respond, her gaze fixed on the now silent battle display. The galaxy had just shifted, And she knew deep down that the humans were no longer just another species, they were a threat, a force that would reshape the future of the Galactic Alliance in ways she could not yet comprehend.